now it is my pleasure to present Ball State's President, Jeff Mearns.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Susanna. During these challenging times, I think I speak for every member of the university community. We're grateful for your leadership and your guidance. And some of you know that last fall, Susanna was recognized appropriately as a woman of influence by the Indianapolis Business Journal, and it's a well-deserved honor that reminds us of how fortunate we are to have you as our provost. To this year's award recipients, congratulations. Your contributions are truly profound and enduring, and I appreciate all that you do to support our students and to advance the mission of our university. In our introductory remarks, the provost welcomed our new dean and our new faculty members, and I'd like to welcome two other new members of the university community. Last December, Governor Holcomb appointed the newest member of our Board of Trustees. Mark Hardwick is a Ball State graduate and the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer of First Merchants Bank, which is headquartered here in Muncie. Mark earned his bachelor's degree in economics in 1993, and he was a member of the 1989-1990 men's basketball team that was inducted into our Athletics Hall of Fame. I also want to welcome Paula Luff. She is our new Vice President for Enrollment Planning and Management. Paula is an Indiana resident, but she joined us in April from DePaul University in Chicago. And then to all of our faculty and our staff, welcome. And thank you for being with us virtually from your office or from wherever you may be joining us this morning. Of course, the small group that's here, we all wish that you were here with us in Emmons Auditorium. This small but special audience will represent all of you until we can hold this program again in person next year. And I'm sure I speak for every member of the university community that we all look forward to that day with great anticipation. So this year I begin my fourth academic year as the president of Ball State University, and as I say today and every day, it is a privilege to serve you. At our convocation last August, I described how impressed I was with the impact of your work. I shared how inspired I am by your many contributions, which are leading us to the bright future that the provost spoke about earlier this morning. And for 9 months, from last July through March, that momentum continued. And I'm going to talk about some of that progress in a moment. But then in the spring semester, we were confronted with two extraordinary challenges. First, the global pandemic, and then the civil unrest in our country that has demonstrated an urgent need for us to accelerate our efforts to create a campus, a community, and a country that is more equitable and more just. And so it is important for me to discuss these issues as well today. But to begin, I want to remind you of some of the good things that happened last year. I'll share a few examples of how our momentum continues to be driven by you, our faculty and our staff, as well as by our talented students and our dedicated graduates. Last fall, Janet Fick and James Jones, faculty members from the Estopanol College of Architecture and Planning, they led a multidisciplinary group of students in becoming the first collegiate team in the Midwest and only the 5th team in the world to certify that an existing building met the LEED standards of the United States Green Building Council. Last January, for the 16th consecutive year, students from our Department of Theater and Dance earned national awards at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And our colleague, Professor Jennifer Blackmer, received the Kennedy Center Medallion. It's a prestigious award. It is one of the greatest honors in theater education. Faculty from our Department of Telecommunications partnered with colleagues from the School of Music's Media Production Program and colleagues from the Department of Speech Pathology and Audiology to work with students to design a project to measure the volume of Netflix programming. This team, our team, presented their findings virtually to Netflix earlier this summer. Last year, students from our music media production program continued to introduce local teenagers to the magic of music production. With support from a Provost's Immersive Learning Grant, Professor Christoph Thompson and 10 of his students installed a recording studio and control room, complete with professional headsets, music, and computers. They installed this equipment inside the Bewley Center. As many of you know, the Bewley Center is a community center that is the cornerstone of Muncie's Whiteley neighborhood. Christoph's students created the Junior Producers Club to help young people learn about song structure and music theory. Christoph's works with his students is just one example of how our faculty engage in educational opportunities that help our students develop professionally and that also have a positive impact on our community. Last November, colleagues from the College of Health presented our university's first interactive poverty simulation. This event provided our students with a better understanding of how poverty affects people. Students from the College of Health who were enrolled in a community nutrition course also donated more than 200 hours of their time to local hunger relief agencies. Their community service is just one of the ways we have been addressing food insecurity in our region here in Indiana. Another example is Professor Adam Berlin's work last spring with his geography students, mapping our local food system. Their research benefited the Delaware County Food Council. The council was formed in cooperation with the Muncie Food Hub Partnership, which is directed by Professor Josh Groover. Both Adam and Josh teach in our College of Sciences and Humanities. And then students in our hospitality and food management program also created a free dining program at Allegra, which is our student-run restaurant. The students provided 900 meals to members of our campus and local communities who are food insecure. And so as a community-engaged university, we are committed to serving our friends and our neighbors. But we also serve people far beyond the state of Indiana. Last September, I met with several faculty members who told me about their recent trip to Kenya. While there, they presented to high schools, hospitals, and health centers to spread awareness about sickle cell anemia. They also visited a village school where they delivered uniforms, medicine, and supplies. The trip was arranged by Professor Winnie Muchara, who is in our Teachers College. Since joining our university 20 years ago, Winnie has established partnerships with universities in her native Kenya, partnerships that have allowed our faculty to engage in important international scholarship. Like our faculty, our students seek opportunities to learn, to grow, and to make a difference in other countries. Earlier today, as you know, we honored Barb Stedman with our Outstanding Advisor Award. This past spring, thanks to Barb's guidance, we celebrated our 12th UK Fulbright Summer Institute recipient in just 9 years. Xander Lahosik, an exercise science major and honor college student, will spend 3 weeks next summer in Scotland, where he will take courses in biomedical science and explore the culture and history of Scotland. Barb also mentored Sierra Sandwith, who became our 12th Goldwater Scholarship recipient in our university's history. And I'm proud of all of our students who received competitive scholarships. I'm also proud of our student athletes. Last spring, across all sports programs, our student athletes earned a collective GPA of 3.32, the highest semester GPA in the history of our athletics program. Approximately 60% of our student athletes made the dean's list, and 74 Cardinals, during that semester interrupted by the pandemic, 74 of our student athletes earned perfect 4.0 GPAs. So notwithstanding the challenges of the pandemic, it was a good year for our university, for our colleges, and for our divisions. It was also a good year for our fundraising. For the second year in a row, our alumni and other benefactors memorialized more than $30 million in new philanthropic commitments to Ball State University. That is the first time in our history that we've reached this level in 2 consecutive years. This past spring, we also held our second annual One Ball State Day. Now, as you may remember, in the days leading up to April 7, we were anxious about how the pandemic might impact our success. In fact, we considered canceling the event, but we decided to proceed because we knew that our students needed that financial support. And so together, our faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends contributed on that one day $530,000. The 24-hour campaign resulted in more than 6,300 gifts from more than 4,300 donors on one day. They demonstrated that, especially during challenging times, Cardinals care. I'm very grateful to all the women and men who continue to contribute to our university, and I'm grateful to our partners in the foundation who encourage this philanthropy. Our strong fundraising success has generated positive momentum, the positive momentum that we need to launch our next comprehensive capital campaign, which will be the most ambitious in our university's history. Now, ambitious is also the word to describe the long-term 2040 goals in our strategic plan, which, as the provost mentioned, we continue to implement. In December, our board approved the Strategic Imperative Fund. Now, our original intent when we created that fund was to award up to $5 million to support innovative projects that would advance our strategic plan. But because of our current budget constraints, I decided to fund a smaller number of proposals for a total of approximately $2.2 million. This summer, we also completed our first strategic plan annual report. This report illustrates the progress in each of our strategic imperatives. And in a few weeks, I will share that report with you. But some of the highlights include our enhanced enrollment strategies to serve underrepresented students, our launch of several new programs to serve lifetime learners, and the completion of our Inclusive Excellence Plan, which I'll talk more about in just a few minutes. The third goal of our strategic plan is to mobilize and lead partnerships that revitalize our city and our region. We know that we make progress towards this goal by increasing our community-engaged coursework, by immersive learning projects, and by various outreach events. To pursue this objective in a new way, our College of Communication, Information, and Media is coordinating with our Office of Immersive Learning to launch our first Immersive Learning Collaborative. CCIM is making a multi-year commitment to a single community partner, the 812 Coalition. This coalition is working to improve the quality of life in one of Muncie's urban neighborhoods. CCIM students will work with the 812 Coalition to address several issues, including neighborhood revitalization, community building, and food insecurity. The goal of this new immersive learning model is to create meaningful and lasting change that can be accomplished through coordinated projects and programs, as well as research and volunteer efforts. Another objective of the third goal of our strategic plan is our historic partnership with the Muncie Community Schools. In the past 2 years, working together, we've made significant strides to transform our local public schools. And I'm grateful to our colleagues from the Office of Community Engagement for their commitment to this partnership. And I want to recognize especially Tiffany Arnold Pine. As the Community Volunteer Program Manager for MCS, Tiffany works with principals and with MCS teachers and staff to mobilize people and organizations all across the community to volunteer to serve our local public schools. I'm also grateful to the provost and everyone else who played a significant role in drafting the MCS Academic Innovation Plan, including and especially faculty from our Teachers College. This plan describes how the district will collaborate with our university and with other community partners to implement an innovative, community-based education model that guides our students from cradle to career. By implementing this plan, MCS continues on a trajectory to create an excellent educational experience for every child in Muncie. Closer to home at the university last fall, I spoke about our university's need to improve our undergraduate retention rate. And I'm pleased to report that our retention rate this year is presently tracking 5 percentage points 5 percentage points higher than last year. And I'm grateful to Susanna and Roanne Royer-Engel and their respective teams for developing our comprehensive retention plan. This plan, of course, is still evolving, but I'm encouraged by the significant progress that we're already making. And I'm pleased by how our colleges and divisions are dedicating their own resources to address this issue. Last fall, our Miller College of Business created a new program called Soar. This program provides undergraduate students with meaningful opportunities to enhance career competencies, to develop professional preparedness, and to connect with campus resources. The college also hired a new director of student success who will oversee SOAR and lead the college's other retention initiatives. REACH is another program that helps our students succeed. REACH is a 1-credit-hour course that prepares incoming students for the transition to college with a focus on students of color and first-generation students. The course is taught by Bobby Steele, the director of our Multicultural Center. Bobby reports that 90% of the first-year students who participated in REACH last year are enrolled and registered and are returning this fall. But it's not just about programs. As important as it is for us to have a comprehensive retention plan in place, a plan supported by innovative programs like SOAR and REACH, I believe it's our people. It's our people who have the greatest impact on whether our students continue their college education. And so I'm grateful to Gloria Pavlik and her staff for their many contributions. Last March, Gloria and her team made retention awards to several students whose bursar balances would have impeded their ability to register for the fall. And the parent of one of these students sent Gloria a handwritten thank you note, which described what a challenging few months it had been for his family and how the award to his daughter had been, in his words, a godsend. The student's father wrote, "Ball State is a fantastic university, and this award is a perfect example of what makes this such a great institution. Some of the kindest and best people work there, and you are certainly among those who represent your institution with exceptionalism." Notes of gratitude like this one reveal how committed, personally committed, our faculty and staff are to the success of our students. And our students deserve this commitment because they are as exceptional as our faculty and staff. As I've said many times before, our students do not come to Ball State University with a sense of entitlement. They come to our institution with a sense of purpose. Approximately 34% of our undergraduate students are Pell Grant recipients. 14% are 21st century scholars, and the number of first-generation students is at an all-time high. The aspirations, the important aspirations of our students are reflected in these statistics, but I am inspired by the stories about our graduates' passionate pursuit of fulfilling careers and meaningful lives. This year, our state's 21st Century Scholar Program celebrated its 30th anniversary. Our university has graduated more than 4,600 21st century scholars through the history of the program, and one of those graduates is Mike Rivera. Mike earned his bachelor's degree in child development in 2013. 2 years later, he returned to our university, this time online, to earn his master's degree. Today, Mike works in northern Indiana as a home visitor with Head Start. He meets with low-income families to make sure their young children reach developmental milestones. As the first in his family to graduate from college, Mike is among many, many 21st century scholars who have chosen a career of selfless service. His reason is simple. Mike said, and this is a quote, "A lot of us have been given an opportunity to advance ourselves, and we want to give back. We want to help those who don't have a voice." Matt Pifer is a Ball State student who wants to give back. Today, Matt is studying to earn his undergraduate degree in social work. But growing up as a child in foster care, Matt suffered years of abuse and neglect. After his adoptive parents were prosecuted for their crimes, Matt spent 2 years living in 8 separate foster homes. Matt wants no other foster child to go through what he did. That's why he created A Voice for Kids, a new nonprofit organization dedicated to helping people recognize the warning signs of abuse of children in foster care. Last January, Matt received national attention for his advocacy work when he participated in T-Mobile's Changemaker Challenge. As one of the contest winners, Matt received $2,000 and traveled to T-Mobile's headquarters where he met with mentors from that wireless company. Matt's capacity to overcome the hardships in his life, to turn negative experiences into positive ones, that story is inspiring. In fact, his story serves as a reminder to all of us right now that good can come from a challenging and difficult situation. And never in our history has a situation been more challenging than this current pandemic. I know that both professionally and personally, this pandemic has caused you and your families to endure many disappointments and many losses. And I know that the ongoing certainty, as the provost mentioned, that ongoing uncertainty begets anxiety. But despite these disappointments and that anxiety, I have been impressed like she has. We have been gratified to witness the many ways in which the members of our university community have adjusted to the new version of academic life, one that's been reshaped by COVID-19. And I'd like to share just a few examples that illustrate the agility and tenacity of our faculty, students, and staff. Last spring, Professor Maura Jasper and the students in her immersive art class helped the Muncie Arts and Culture Council plan a micro-cinema festival. The students wanted to hold the festival in person, but of course they were preempted by pandemic restrictions. Maura's students saw this disruption as an opportunity to harness their creativity. They made a micro-cinema in a box. It contained everything they created for the event, from marketing and social media plans to graphics for print, and they presented the package to the council. And now the council is using these materials to promote the rescheduled festival that will take place in downtown Muncie. You may also have read the story about a group of students and recent graduates from our School of Music who created bassoons filling bellies. Harriet Legan, who graduated in May, she founded the group, which has been hosting weekly bassoon ensemble concerts on YouTube. Earlier this month, Harriet told me the performers were close to their goal of raising $2,000 for Feeding America. The money they've collected so far has funded more than 18,000 meals for people facing hunger during the pandemic. Harriet and so many others, they're a reminder of the spirit of beneficence, which is the hallmark of our university. Beneficence also reminds us that we are grounded in certain enduring values, one of which is gratitude. And in the spirit of beneficence, of gratitude, I want to join the provost in thanking our faculty and staff, each and every one of you, who redesigned courses for hybrid and online instruction. In May, we converted all of our on-campus summer courses, approximately 400 sections, to online courses. And this fall, we have migrated approximately 900 traditionally on-campus courses to online instruction. This was a Herculean task. And like Susanna, I'm grateful to our colleagues from the Division of Online and Strategic Learning and from the Office of Information Technology for helping our faculty accomplish this remarkable feat. Yes, I heard a little applause. Yep. Little hard with 50 of you, maybe the other 500 are sitting at their desks cheering as well. But I want to join Susanna in thanking the Office of Undergraduate Admissions for quickly shifting our campus tours and summer orientation to a virtual format. Last spring, the staff purchased a social media app to help our incoming students connect with each other during orientation, which was conducted virtually. Within a month of ZMe's launch, That's the social media platform. The prospective students who downloaded the app had logged 70,000 views that were created by our orientation leaders, and in that same time, those prospective incoming students, they exchanged more than 45,000 messages with each other. So I'm grateful to Paula Luff and Chris Munchel and their colleagues for helping us engage with our incoming students. Also want to recognize our staff in the bursar's office and in financial aid. They deserve special recognition for distributing more than $7 million of CARES Act funds in a very short period of time to thousands and thousands of our eligible students. Throughout last spring and summer, as Susanna mentioned, we faced an urgent need to provide timely updates about our university's response to the pandemic. And I want to join Susanna in thanking Kathy Wolf and her team in marketing communications for helping us to distribute and prepare those videos and those messages. Now, since March, I have received several emails from parents expressing their gratitude for our clear and consistent communications. One father, Ellis Reyes, described our emails, quote, as a positive lifeline to the fall semester. Ellis told me that because of COVID-19, his daughter Maria spent the final months of her high school career in Mercer Island, Washington. She spent that final semester and few weeks in a funk. Until one drizzly afternoon, when Maria, who was filling her car up with gas, received a call. It was Bill Jenkins from our Department of Theater and Dance calling to let Maria know that she had secured one of only 22 available openings in our BFA in acting program. In his own words, Ellis said, Maria's tears were immediate and overwhelming. So much so that a kind woman getting gas at an adjacent pump came over to ask her if she was okay. My daughter's reply was, "This is the best day of my life. This is the best day of my life." Ellis shared this story with me in response to the email I sent out about our plans for the fall. Ellis told me he appreciated our courageous choice to resume some on-campus instruction. He wrote, "We'll be there in a couple of months to drop off my daughter, proudly embracing our new role as BSU parents." And we were able to welcome Maria to campus because of the hundreds of employees who dedicated themselves to our safe return. I'm especially grateful to the members of our trust committee who helped to coordinate our response to the pandemic. The committee identified a range of issues and they made recommendations for how to prioritize safety in our classrooms, our offices, our residence halls, our dining halls, and our rec facilities. And I want to thank Student Affairs and Housing and Residence Life for safely helping our students move out of the residence halls last spring and then spending so much time this summer developing protocols to allow them to move back this past week. We also benefited from the dedication of hard work of our colleagues in facilities. Jim Lowe and his team have done a great job adjusting our classrooms to reduce density, installing physical distancing signs and plexiglass barriers across campus, and acquiring and using necessary cleaning and sanitizing supplies. I'm also grateful to those employees whose responsibilities required them to work on campus during the pandemic. From our maintenance crews and landscapers to our custodians and cashiers, these women and men kept our university running, and their hard work and dedication did not go unnoticed. You see, for a few weeks ago, I received an email from a local East Central Indiana resident who graduated from Ball State in 1969. This gentleman told me that he has stage 4 prostate cancer. To keep his muscles and his body strong, he and his wife drive in from Eaton several times a week just to walk around our campus. And in his email he wrote, "This year, the BSU grounds are more beautiful than ever." He asked me in his own words, Please thank your fantastic groundskeeping crew. He told me in his message that their work has extended his life. So this morning I have an opportunity to honor his request. And I also want to extend my gratitude, all of our gratitude, to the dedicated women and men who every day, no matter the weather, keep our campus clean and beautiful. And I want to recognize one of our bus drivers, Brian Kemp. Brian's name came up during one of the campus conversations I had with faculty and staff last winter, and his name came up in several emails that I received last spring. One of those emails came from a student named Lindsay Leeson. Lindsay wrote, quote, "I wanted to let you know that I truly appreciate the bus drivers at Ball State. There is one driver, though, who has gone above and beyond to help students and to make sure they're safe. His name is Brian, and he drives one of the orange loops. He is the best bus driver I have ever had the honor to meet." Brian's dedication exemplifies our individual and collective commitment to excellence. And now I must speak about how grateful I am, how grateful we all should be that our university was able to sustain our operations last spring without taking the kind of disruptive cost-cutting measures that other institutions were forced to take. Last March, as we know from reading newspapers and news accounts, that cost-cutting measures were beset many other institutions, but our trustees authorized an extraordinary temporary leave plan. Under this plan, any employee who was unable to work because of COVID-19 received their regular pay through the remainder of the fiscal year, which ended on June 30th. The financial benefit to our employees who took advantage of this plan was $3.1 million. And we should feel fortunate that we work for an institution that has managed our resources prudently. That fiscal prudence has allowed us to support our employees in this important way. But of course, we're not immune. We're not immune to the economic fallout of this pandemic because of a $10 million reduction in our state appropriation this year, as well as some uncertainty around enrollment. We had to implement cost-cutting measures to reduce our operating expenses this year. And I appreciate the people who had to make these difficult decisions, and I know that many of you have worked hard to support our students and to support our colleagues. Because we cannot predict the end of this public health crisis, we may have to find additional efficiencies in the future. But we face this uncertainty from a position of strength. And this strength empowers us to confront these challenges, to confront them, I believe, with confidence. This strength gives us the capacity and the courage to weather this storm. We face another challenge as a campus, as a community, and as a country. The ongoing challenge of creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment for all people. This challenge was brought into sharp focus on our campus last January when an unfortunate incident took place in one of our classrooms. This incident happened on the same day, on the very same day that we announced our new Inclusive Excellence Plan, the first in our university's history. This plan was the result of a consultative process that flowed directly from our strategic plan. Our Inclusive Excellence Plan represents the next step in our journey. Of course, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go to achieve our ambitious goal of inclusive excellence. But at the same time, we shouldn't overlook all of the work that has been completed by dedicated members of our campus community. This work serves as the foundation for our efforts to serve a student body that continues to grow increasingly diverse. Over the past 10 years, the number of unrepresented minority students has increased from approximately 2,100 to more than 3,800 students. Our on-time four-year graduation rate for these students has increased from only 24% now to 42%. And at the heart of our campus, we are building our new $4 million multicultural center, a facility that will allow us to expand programming to serve all of our students. I'm proud of our progress, but our Inclusive Excellence Plan recognizes that we have much more work to do. Much more work to do before we have a campus culture where every person feels welcome, respected, and valued. That's why, after hearing additional input from many people, I announced several actions that will enhance our inclusive excellence work. I shared these steps in a report that detailed our university's response to the requests I received from faculty, staff, and students. And I encourage you once again to review our Inclusive Excellence Plan and the progress report that I distributed in June. Both of these documents were made stronger by the wisdom of Marcia McGriff, our Associate Vice President for Inclusive Excellence. I'm grateful to Marcia and her team for helping us to advance the goals of our Inclusive Excellence Plan. One of these goals is our university's commitment to provide inclusive excellence training to members of our campus as well as to our local communities. In just the past few weeks, Marcia and her team have conducted training sessions with some of our staff, with the YMCA, with MCS teachers and staff, and with city and county law enforcement officers. Marcia is also the champion of Inclusive Excellence Taking Flight, one of the new initiatives supported by our Strategic Imperative Fund. With this initiative, Marcia will create Inclusive Excellence Champions, a certificate program that will help people develop the skills they need to advance equity, diversity, and inclusion in their lives and in their workplaces. In her research, Marcia discovered that there is no other college and university in Indiana that is offering a program like ours. Now, a good plan and specific metrics, those are tangible elements of a successful strategy to achieve inclusive excellence. But I believe some intangible attributes are also vital to our success. In our Beneficence Pledge, we ask every member of the Ball State community to value the intrinsic worth of every person. To live this pledge, I believe that we must listen empathetically to the perspectives and to the experiences of other people. We must listen with an open mind. We must listen with humility. We must listen with an open heart. And we must listen with compassion and with grace. And I believe that our students lead us in this work. I saw this truth when in June our students organized a massive, peaceful march right here from our campus to downtown Muncie. And I recently heard another story that validates my belief that it is our students who can inspire us to care for and respect others, including and especially people who are different from us. In June, Clark Kitchen heard about a Black Lives Matter demonstration happening in Fort Wayne. Clark asked his mother to drive him from Huntington to hand out food to the people who were peacefully demonstrating. A reporter asked Clark what had prompted him to want to feed the demonstrators who were gathered in front of the city's courthouse. Clark said he was inspired to help people make a positive change because what he had seen on social media and because of the Ball State University Beneficence Pledge. So Clark and so many of our students embody our commitment to inclusiveness. And I suggest that we follow their lead. I believe the late Congressman John Lewis, a civil rights hero, also embodied our enduring values. I never met Congressman Lewis, but I did have an opportunity to hear him speak, and I will never forget the experience. It was a frigid April morning in 2018, in April. It was 50 years to the day that Dr. Martin Luther King was shot and killed in Memphis. Congressman Lewis and I were both in Indianapolis for a dedication ceremony commemorating the famous speech that Bobby Kennedy gave there after learning that Dr. King had been assassinated. Congressman Lewis was there because he had been in Indianapolis with Kennedy on the night that Dr. King was assassinated. I was at the dedication ceremony because of Ball State's connection to that speech, a speech that Kennedy had delivered just hours after he had made a campaign stop here at our university. I sat in the front row of the ceremony listening to Congressman Lewis speak. The power and the passion of his words warmed our hearts. He gave me hope. He gave me hope to believe in a world that will be more peaceful and more just. Now, as you know, Congressman Lewis died a month ago this week. 2 days before he passed, he submitted an essay to the New York Times, an essay he asked the newspaper to publish on the day of his funeral. Congressman Lewis wrote, quote, "In my life I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide." And I submit, as we continue on our quest for equal justice, let his words, let those words be our guide. In the days following Congressman Lewis's death, I read firsthand accounts from people whose lives he touched. Some people knew Congressman Lewis for years. For others, their connection to him was forged in just a few seconds. In just a few seconds that it took for him to offer a handshake or a hug. Those stories remind me that each one of us has the capacity to make a positive impression on people, much in the same way Congressman Lewis had a positive impact on so many. I think about a faculty member who always makes a student feel like their question is her opportunity to help that student succeed. I think about the advisor who, even when she's out of the office, responds promptly to a student's email. I think about the bus driver who waits to make sure his passenger gets to her car safely. I have the privilege, as the president of Ball State University, I have the privilege of hearing these stories. Stories that demonstrate how your everyday acts of kindness and generosity have a transformative impact on our students. Last November, I received an email from the mother of one of our graduates, Gunnar Bills. Gunnar graduated from our university with honors in May 2019. But when his parents brought Gunnar to campus his freshman year, they weren't sure that he would even complete his first semester. The same day that Gunnar moved into his room in Doherty Hall, the Bills were back before midnight to pick him up. Gunnar's mother, Vanessa, wrote, "I knew that then this was the beginning of a long year." Gunnar was highly intelligent, but he had poor social skills, and he was homesick. His parents were determined to keep their son enrolled at Ball State, even though it meant that they had to drive down from Fort Wayne every Friday to pick him up and then bring him back to campus just a few days later. Each week, Vanessa would ask Gunnar what he liked about Ball State, and Gunnar would only talk about his computer science classes, and that was it. Then one day, Gunnar told his mother about a custodian that he had met. Gunnar texted his mother, "There is this custodian here who is really nice, and he's trying to learn our names. I like him." Every other day, Gunnar would tell his mother about how this custodian would say things to him like, "Hi, Gunnar. Hope you're having a good day," or, "Hey, Gunnar, you doing anything on fall break? I'm going fishing." In her own words, Vanessa wrote, "I believe this custodian saved my son. Saved my son from leaving Ball State. Gunnar had someone who knew his name outside of class, and I knew things were turning around when Gunnar decided to dress up for Halloween and to pass out candy at Doherty." Vanessa continued in her letter to me, "At the end of his first semester, he decided to stay. I'm not sure the ending would have been the same had it not been for that custodian. To this day, I'm not sure of his name, but I believe it was Steve." According to Vanessa, when Gunnar returned to campus his sophomore year, this custodian was the first person to say, "Hi, Gunnar. I'm glad you're back." Vanessa shared with me that she had wanted to write this letter several times, but that she'd always gotten distracted. In her final line, Vanessa wrote, "4 years later, Gunnar graduated, and he has since started a good career, and that is in part due to that kind custodian in Doherty." Ladies and gentlemen, that kind custodian is here with us today in Emmons Auditorium. Steve Smith, thank you for joining us. So I asked Steve to be my special guest so that I could recognize him for the remarkable impact that he had on Gunnar's life and I believe on so many other students at our university. Now, Steve's here, and he knew that I was going to acknowledge him this morning. What he didn't know was how I planned to conclude my remarks, by presenting him with one of our university's highest honors, the President's Medal of Distinction. Susanna, would you assist me? Steve, in conferring upon you the President's Medal of Distinction, all of us recognize your character and your kindness in your service to our students. And so it is my distinct honor to bestow upon you this President's Medal of Distinction. So, Steve, I suspect that you will remember this day, but please know it is a memorable moment for me, too. Today is only the second time that I have bestowed this medal upon a deserving recipient. And I did so because you remind us. You remind us that every day, today and every day, we have the opportunity to transform the lives of another person. So at the outset of my remarks, I implied that this past year was, in reality, 2 very different years. But as I prepared these remarks and as I reflected on the past year, I realized that while, of course, there were some stark differences, there was, in fact, a common theme, a subtle but powerful thread that was inextricably woven throughout this past year. That common theme is the commitment of the women and men of Ball State University. Today, even in the midst of the ongoing challenges we face, I stand before you more proud, more grateful, and yes, more confident than ever before. And it's because of all of you. It's because of all of you that I know that our best days are yet to come. I believe that our best days are yet to come, and I believe that we will overcome this temporary challenge because we can rely on each other. We can depend on each other. We can lean on each other. This year, our support for one another is going to look different. It will be different because we must maintain physical distance. We must wear masks that hide our smiles and our expressions of empathy. We can't shake hands right now. We can't give hugs. We can't rely on many of the traditional ways in which we forge a physical connection that demonstrates our bond, our interdependency as human beings. And yet, because of the pandemic, we have come to realize that we are, in fact, increasingly dependent on each other. Increasingly dependent on each other for our safety, for our health, and for our personal well-being. So as we steel ourselves for the uncertainties that lie ahead, let us soften our hearts. Let us be there for each other as colleagues and as friends. And in what has become now my signature send-off at these events, I've once again asked Bill Jenkins to help me close out our program. Because of the pandemic, Bill had to get even more creative with this year's performance. So he asked Professor Christoph Thompson and Talon Cooper, a telecommunications student, to help him create a music video. Bill assembled a talented group of theater students and graduates, including Kayla Davion, who is currently on hiatus from her lead role in the Tina Turner musical on Broadway. This group will perform a compilation of 2 songs arranged by Professor Michael Rafter. So as we embark, ladies and gentlemen, have a good day, a great year, and enjoy this moving video.
Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow.
But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
Lean on me
when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need someone to lean on.
when you're down and troubled and you need some love and care, and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. Now ain't it good to know that you've got a friend when people can be so cold?
They'll hurt you, yes, and desert you, and take your soul if you let them. Don't let them.
You just call
Lean on me when you're not strong,
wherever I am.
and I'll be your friend.
I'll come running to see
I'll help you carry on, for
We all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.